Good morning. Previously we talked about imperial area. Today we're going to talk about imperial volume. Now remember, volume is things that measure how much something can hold or how much space something takes up. So we are talking about three dimensions. So volume involves length, width, and height. And that's where our formula for volume of a cube comes in. All right. Next unit we'll talk about volume of other things. So in the imperial measurement system, we have three basic, yeah, I guess basic units for volume. The first is we'll start with a cubic inch, and it's a little cube that has an edge length of 1 inch. So that's this little guy here. So he is 1 inch tall, 1 inch wide, and 1 inch long. The next bigger one is the cubic foot. Again, is a foot or a cube that has an edge length of 1, 1, and 1 foot. And lastly, we have the cubic yard, and that is a bigger cube because a yard is bigger, and it has an edge length of, you guessed it, a yard. That's where the name comes from. Okay, so all of these are a yard. All right, so how many cubic feet are in a cubic yard? So as you can see, I got this cube drawn here, and we know that 1 yard is 3 feet. So if you wanted to, you could physically try to count all of these, but it's hard to do that on a picture. So I know that because this is a cubic yard, all the edge lengths are 1 yard. All of these are 1 yard. But 1 yard is the same as 3 feet, so I'm just going to call it 3 feet instead. Right. Now to figure out volume, volume is length times width times height. Now this only works for rectangular prisms or cubes. When we get to different shapes, you'll have to use a different formula. All right, so my volume is, well, my length was 3, times my width was 3, and my height was 3. 3 times 3 times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3 is 27. Right, so 1 cubic yard is 27 cubic feet. I'm just going to rewrite that fancy green. So 1 cubic yard, and that little 3 tells us we're talking about cubic, not area, not length. We're talking about volume. That's what the 3 means. It's 27 feet cubed. All right. Similarly, how many cubic inches are in a cubic foot? So we know 1 foot is 12 inches. So this is a cubic foot, so each edge length is a foot. So that's the same thing as 12 inches. So that's 12 inches. That's 12 inches. And my height is 12 inches. So again, volume is length times width times height. I want to figure out my volume in cubic inches. I already know in a cubic feet, 1 cubic foot is 1 cubic foot. So my volume is, well, my length is 12, my width is 12, and my height is 12. Well, that's a terrible 12, not 11, 12. All right, and okay, 12 times 12, 144, 144 times 2, oh, I do not know. 12 times 12 times 12, 1,728. 1,728 cubic inches, or inches cubed. Right, so that's what 1 cubic foot is. So make sure you know what type of math you're doing. If we're dealing with length, area, or volume, because that's going to change what unit you're using. So I don't want you to get confused with square inches and cubic inches, right? Because they're completely different things. All right, so I got two more quick examples. All right, what is the volume of this tissue box in cubic inches and cubic feet? All right, so first let's figure out the volume in cubic inches. Um, I would have made you measure one. If you don't trust me, you can measure the one on my desk. And it's approximately 9 inches by 4 inches by 3 inches. All right, so to first figure out my volume, I'm just going to do the same thing I was doing on the last questions. Well, volume is length times width times height. My length was 9, my width was 4, my height was 3. So let's just punch that in real quick. 9 times 4 times 3, 108. So my volume is 108. But since all of these measurements were in inches, this answer here is in inches cubed. So that's the first part of my question. In cubic inches. Bam. Done. Now I want to change that to cubic feet. Now, anytime we're changing units, that's when I like to do it as a skeleton equation, which you guys are probably super familiar with by now. So, all right, set up my skeleton equation. My first number is from my question, so that's this number. I'm changing cubic inches into cubic feet. So 108 inches cubed, and changing into cubic feet. So I know that there are 1,728 cubic inches in a cubic foot. And that's the number on your formula sheet, okay? 1,728. Now I'm changing into from cubic inches to cubic feet. So I'm changing from a little cube into a big cube. That's the units I'm doing. Just gonna undo that. All right, so since I'm changing into a bigger unit, I have to divide. Okay, because my number's gonna get smaller when I'm doing a bigger unit. So take that number and divide it by 1,728. That's my answer. And that's okay that it's a decimal. So this is 0.0625, and that's in feet cubed. Now my next question for you is, which number would you use if you were in an everyday conversation, or if you had to do some sort of math for work? Would you use, in this question, would you use inches cubed, or would you use feet cubed? Because they're both the right answer. It's just one of them is nicer than the other. I'll let you think about that for a second. Okay, on to the next one. So, Chuck ordered 4 cubic yards of soil to raise the level of the flower beds along his house. How many cubic feet did he order? This one's a little bit easier. It's just a straight up skeleton equation. All right, so he started with 4 yards cubed, and he's trying to change to cubic feet. So if you look on your formula sheet, I don't have one here, but 1 cubic yard is 27 cubic feet. So that's what I'm going to use here, 27. Now, I'm changing to a smaller unit. Cubic feet are smaller than cubic yards. So I'm going to multiply. So 27 times 4 is 108. 108 and cubic feet. So feet cubed. So that's how much he ordered in cubic feet. Okay, so now I want you to try out these self-check questions. Make sure you check your answers and ask questions if you have them. Thank you.